So you want to be a millionaire. You finally want to go to all those people who doubted you, called you names and said that you cannot make it. You want to go to them and show them your millions of dollars in your bank account and finally prove them wrong. You sort of feel that once you have all this money, you would get rid of all the insecurities that you have, because finally you'll be able to post selfies on Instagram showing your luxurious lifestyle, your yachts, your houses, your bags, and everything that you ever crave for. If that's you, then please make sure to watch this video till the very end, because not only I'll be giving you the step-by-step pathway of making millions within your career, but also I will be showing you the right approach towards progressing in life, and why money should not be your only goal. So in case you're wondering who exactly is this guy and why is he sitting in his mom's basement telling me all these things, well, I'm not sitting in my mom's basement, and the fact is that in the last 5 to 6 years I've been able to build this company called as Ability that Touchwood produces us millions and millions of sales. In the last 30 days, I've been able to do $170,000 in cash collected. Cash collected means money that hit my bank account. This is not revenue or future anticipated sales. If I was to go and do the calculations for all of that stuff, it'll be a lot higher. Until date, I've been able to sign 1,600 plus clients and produced well over 1,000 plus documented case studies of business owners getting results left, right, and center. And the thing that you should know about me is that I'm not different, and I was just an average student in school. This means I did not get amazing marks, I did not get amazing grades, and my teachers even said to me once that I will, not even able to pass school because I just couldn't pay attention to what was going on in the classroom. So the point that I'm trying to tell you is that someone like myself, without any kind of degree, professional degree that most people assume that you need in order to be successful in life, someone who's average, somebody, whose teachers really doubted him, can literally go about building this business that generates so much money, like more money than what a doctor would make in a year or two in the US if they were to actually put in the work. And I was able to do that in 30 days, right? So what's the process behind it and how do you go about doing the same? Let's learn about that in this video. Now, the thing about becoming a millionaire is that it's pretty boring, right? Because there are some concepts and theories that you need to really understand if you really want to make it through. Now, if you do not have the patience to even watch this video completely, then I highly think that the chances of you becoming rich, forget being a millionaire, is very low. Because the first thing that you must understand is, in order to become rich or successful in anything, it doesn't matter what you're trying to do. Chances are you're trying to become a professional gamer. Chances are that you are trying to, just become a great cricketer. Chances are that you are trying to become a great business owner, right? Whatever your goal might be, if you do not have the patience to watch something and do an action consistently for prolonged periods of times without, getting distracted all the time, then you cannot achieve anything in life. So my suggestion would be, go take that phone of yours, put that in airplane mode, and only focus on this video. Go get a pen and a paper and start taking notes, right? So let's get into my awesome computer screen. And clearly you can see my handwriting is so special, right? So I think you'll be able to understand this concept super easily. So that being said, in order to become a millionaire, I've actually divided this into a lot of different categories and some lessons that I've learned throughout the years. Some I have learned from various kind of mentors out there. I've, definitely learned a lot from various kind of books out there. And I've also learned from my own personal experience, right? So let's get into the first point that I believe that in order to become a millionaire, you really, really need, and you really need to understand. The first thing is that I like to say is the evolution, and why exactly is that important. Now, a lot of people set this goal of becoming rich, and when they actually hit that target, they start feeling numb again, and they are just not motivated to actually move forward, okay? And I'm warning you about this even before I teach you how you can make millions. And the reason I'm doing this is because there was no one out there to tell me about this particular concept. Now, what do I mean by this? See, the purpose of life, if you're wondering what exactly is it, honestly, it's evolution, right? What does that mean? Well, it basically means whoever you are in whatever area of your life, the next day, if you wake up and you're the same or you're regressing, naturally as a human being, you will start feeling more depressed. This is why you might have noticed people who are unemployed are super, super depressed. In fact, my own father, he had a really awesome career for years and years, right? But when he turned 56 or 57, around the COVID time, his business started taking a hit. And he decided, you know what, I don't have to take all this stress, so I might as well just retire. But the thing is, when he did retire, he started to feel absolutely numb because he was so bored out of his mind. He thought that I would, chill by the beach, have some margaritas or whatever, dreams that people have. Unfortunately, it did not pan out the same, because I personally believe that in life, if you want to consistently feel happy, you want to feel great about yourself, you want to, feel motivated, then you must work towards evolution and making progress. And that progress should not only be measured in terms of money. Why? Because honestly, monetary targets often get achieved, and once you achieve them, then you do not know what to do next. Now, how did this happen with me, and how does this apply to you? Well, when I was 20 years old, or I think 19, I had just one goal, and that goal was to make $10,000 a month. Now, this is way before I was even a millionaire. And I wanted to just achieve that target so bad that I was working like crazy, probably like 14 hours a day. I would do webinars out of webinars. I would do, I would post content almost every week and whatnot. And what started to happen is eventually, like, I think the first month, of course, I didn't hit it. A year later, I did not hit it. And maybe like a year and a half later or something like that, I remember I ended up making $10,000 within a week. So essentially, I just hosted like a webinar, and a lot of people joined, and I just, sold them my product. And at the end, I just said, hey, come book a one-on-one call with me. I sold them a $3,000 product. And within a week, I basically ended up signing like 3-4 clients, and boom, my $10,000 a month target was achieved. Now, a lot of people might wonder that, hey, Rohan, once you achieve that target, you must feel like so great, right? You might be like, oh my God, I've done everything in life, right? Unfortunately, it did not work out like that. I was feeling super depressed. I was like, okay, I've done this. Now what do I do? And for me back then, I was a 20-year-old kid, right? $10,000 was decent enough money for me to just, have a decent lifestyle. And I did not need more money than that. And majority of that money was just my profits, because I wasn't running much advertisement. I did not have much labor costs, etc., etc. So life was pretty good. Yet I was feeling depressed until I started reading books like Man's Search for Meaning. If you've read that book, it's a great one. I started reading more about Ray Dalio's principles and a lot more things, till the time I really understood that if you're going to set monetary objectives as your goal, and if you're going to set those objectives just to prove to other people who doubted you once, you're going to lead to a pathway of disaster. Okay. And that is something that you must understand. So that is why, this evolution, it's like pretty critical. And your understanding of the same is pretty critical, because when I did achieve this $10,000 a month mark, I thought, I will finally be able to prove to my school friends that, hey, you doubted me. Look, I did it. All those teachers who said I couldn't pass school, look, I make so much more than you, right? But nobody was there. And quite frankly, nobody cares. And they are so busy in their own life that they don't have time to look or care about what I'm doing, right? So that's why that reality shift was really, really important for me. And the next thing that I also realized, I started studying about, founders of companies, giant companies like Google, right? Sergey Brin and Larry Page. And what I learned about them after reading their shareholder letters is that Google doesn't set monetary objectives necessarily, because it's Google. They know that they will eventually hit those targets because of how talented they are. That's why Google usually sets objectives which they may not be even able to achieve the same within the time span that they are currently in. For example, Google has this objective or goal of taking all the information on Earth and putting it online and making it searchable. Okay, um, one thing that they did is with Google Maps, they literally took all maps of on Earth and literally scanned them and put them on the internet, and now you can finally use Google Maps. So the mission that they have is like, because think about this, there's so much information out there, right? And putting it all on the internet and making it accessible and searchable, it could take decades, a lifetime, or chances are that it may not even happen, right? However, the fact that Google set an objective like that makes them want to continue, and keep moving forward in the long term. Because what Google's founders, they are like multi-billionaires, right? I don't think money is like a big concern for them. So that's why this keeps them motivated, and this makes them want to keep going on and keep evolving. And that's the key word. Okay. And if you do not evolve in today's time, you will be left behind. Because think about this, right? Back in the days, there was a company called as Walmart. It still is, right? They were like the go-to store for everything. They still are the go-to store. People would go buy their groceries and all that stuff. However, Walmart was so focused on whatever they were doing that they did not get time to evolve. And guess what? Who was working behind the scenes? It was Amazon, who realized that, hey, there is internet. It's a great opportunity, and it could make commerce a lot accessible to people. And boom, Amazon came, innovated, and now they are much more valuable than Walmart, right? So similarly, you should also try to understand that your goal should not be just to become a millionaire, but there should be a deeper purpose behind it. And for some of you watching this video, you might not be able to relate to this because you'd be like, dude, I have like my rent due, or I have like, liabilities or loan to pay, right? So I completely understand and sympathize with you. Chances are that once you are able to free yourself from these liabilities and whatnot, you might be able to unlock this perspective. However, try to practice it from day one itself, that other than seeing that bank account balance go up and up, also see that, look, I'm making so much progress in life. So that's the first concept that I want to talk to you about today, which is evolution and you having the right expectations when it comes to making money in your life, or basically aiming for growth. Stop comparing yourself to all these individuals out there on Instagram trying to show you a lifestyle which honestly is not achievable. Because I know a lot of these influencers, and when you look at their day-to-day life, it is literally not like how they present it. And this is becoming such a major problem when it comes to expectations. Because I recently had like a young 20-something-year-old reach out to me, and he was like, Rohan, I've been working so hard, and in just like 1 year, all I've been able to do is just, achieve 1 lakh a month. And I'm like, what's the problem with that, man? Like, that is so good. Like, how many 20-something-year-olds know in their early 20s who are making that much money? Or, he was, I think that was a great accomplishment, right? So my point is that stop looking at other people, stop measuring your self-worth with just monetary targets. Understand that the game is beyond money as well. Try to measure your progress in other areas as well. For instance, it doesn't need to be your bank balance, but also how many lives are you changing, how many clients are you impacting. Chances are that, today, rather than looking at how much money flew into your bank account, see about how many action steps did you take, and did you make any kind of progress, right? And if you did, try to look at that rather than just looking at the monetary balance, because honestly, that's going to motivate you a lot more in the long term rather than just looking at short-term gains and, seeing the money in your bank account, because that's going to mess up with your mind and that's not going to lead to evolution. Okay. So that's what I would highly recommend. Now, moving on to the next thing, which is a concept that you must understand, which is input and outputs, right? So the way I like to look at this is, think about this, right? In anything that you want to do in life, right, there will be inputs, right? And then there will be outputs, right? And then basically there will be this machine right? Which will lead to the output that you desire, or the system that you design, which will lead to the, the whatever that you desire, right? And then what also happens is, over here, you must understand another thing that, plays a role into this is your environment, right? Now, if you can understand this concept, honestly, this is going to make you so much money, because when I did, I was like, wow, my mind was blown completely, right? Now, what do I mean by this? Well, whatever you're trying to do in life, turn it into a machine so that you can put the right kind of inputs and get predictable outputs, and make sure that your environment is built around that in order to support the same. Now, let me give you an example so that this concept becomes super, super simple. Let's take this money making equation aside from for a second, right? Let's say your goal is to lose weight. I think 2 years ago, or around the COVID period, I had put on some weight because I was just like so involved with like work that I did not get time to focus on my health. Okay. So what did I do? I basically first broke down the machine into various kind of parts, right? If I want to lose weight, right, what all needs to happen for me to lose weight? Well, my machine that I was able to actually assemble, the first thing is, in order to lose weight, I need to get sleep. So I would just call that as S, right? In order to lose weight as well, the next thing that I needed was, let's say, I needed, of course, the right kind of diet, right? Then I needed workout, right? And I think, like, this is it. Again, I'm not a fitness coach or anything like that. Take this like with a pinch of salt. But point is that, let's say that these are the variables that you need as part of the machine in order to achieve my goal. Now, if I'm able to, let's say, the inputs that I'm feeding into the machine, right? Let's say the input that I feed into the machine is that I'm only sleeping 5 hours a day. I'm eating, let's say, calories worth, let's say, my normal caloric intake, let's say, is like, 2000 calories, and I need to eat 1800 calories to be in a deficit and suddenly lose weight. But I'm eating, let's say, 2500 or 3000 calories. Let's say I need to work out a minimum of 3 times a week, but I'm working 0 times, right? I'm not going to the gym. So do you think if the input that I'm putting in is 5 hours of sleep, 3K calories a day, and 0 times workout, what do you think the output will be? Do you think I'll lose weight? The answer is probably not, right? And let's say that the environment that I'm surrounding myself in, or the environment that I'm currently in, consists of people who are going out every day, they're eating junk food every day, they're partying all day, kind of like how I had it in college. Do you think I will actually end up losing weight? Probably not, right? On the other hand, if I was to take these inputs, right, and I was just to say that, hey, you know what, rather than sleeping 5 hours, I would get like a healthy 8-hour sleep, right? I will eat 1800 calories, and I would work out, let's say, 3 times a week. And then the environment that I'm in consists of people who are a lot motivated, like myself. They go to the gym, they take care of their health, they are driven, right? And they don't like mess around and, get drunk during the week, right? Do you think my chances of success will increase, right? If I'm able to provide the right kind of inputs to my machine and, get the right kind of outputs and provide it with the right kind of environment? Absolutely yes, right? Now, how can I automate this, right? The next thing is, like, what if I'm able to automate this machine? Well, what I can do is, I could probably have an alarm go at, let's say, 10 p.m., where suddenly my room's lights go dark, right? And with one switch, maybe I'm like drinking some sort of special tea. Maybe I'm like, going away from screen time during this, before I go to bed, like 2 hours before. Let's say that I can automate this by getting a machine delivery or a food delivery company, which gives me healthy proportionate food, which is 1800 calories. And let's say I could get like a personal trainer who like more, pushes me, and I have like my clothes that I have to wear for the workout all ready next to me before I even have to think about it. If I could like take care of these variables, right, and automate the machine so that my chances of working super hard to achieve the outputs is high, and then I put myself forcefully in an environment like, with my clothes, with the right kind of people, etc., out there with the machine, with the food delivery company as well. If I'm able to provide these things to myself and make this all automated so that the decision making component within my brain is reduced, and this sort of becomes like a default, consistent, predictable machine, then my chances of losing weight would increase a lot higher. Why? Because now I'm providing the right kind of inputs to the machine, and the outputs that I will be getting would be a lot higher, and I'm also putting myself within the same environment. Now, similarly, if I was to take this into a business context, right? Let's say in order to grow a business, the things that you might require would be, let's say you require leads, require sales, and let's say you require fulfillment. Now, think about this, right? So the inputs that need within the machine are these, right? So that the output that you get equals, let's say, 1 million. Now, the question is, a lot of business owners, like, they come to me and they're like, Rohan, the business is not growing. I don't know what's happening. I'm so confused. I think this doesn't work. I think, business doesn't work. I think nothing works, right? I should give up. And when I ask them, what's the problem? I don't know, Rohan, something's a problem. I don't know what, right? This is how like most business owners operate, and it's like really annoying. And if you really look at it, I would ask them, okay, let's break this down into variable by variable. Let's look at the first one, which is leads, because you need leads for a business. If you don't get leads, how will you grow or scale? Well, when I ask people, how many leads did you get, or what's your source of leads, right? Firstly, most people don't even track this data, but let's say that they do. The question would be, are you able to get leads within KPI, right? If no, then the question is, what exactly is the problem, right? Now, if you want to like make this into like supermarket-y, you could understand that, hey, are we not getting enough clicks? This means your CTR is a problem. Are we not getting enough opt-ins? This means your landing page percentage is a problem, right? So if you're not getting enough clicks, maybe we need to like improve upon your ads or the kind of videos that you're making. If your landing page is not converting, then chances are that we need to improve upon your landing page. So by looking at the inputs and then analyzing the machine into different parts and different components of the same, I'm able to now diagnose the problem, right? Now, a lot of people might say, Ron, I'm getting a lot of leads, but they're not quality leads, right? This means then we can again look at your quality score, and then we could see why exactly that is happening. Now, let's say that you are getting leads, but you are not getting sales. People are opting in, but they're not buying. Then we can understand and look at variables like, hey, did you listen to your call recordings, right? Did you try to diagnose the problem that you're facing? Are you able to handle obstacles properly? Are you able to handle objections properly? Are you able to pitch properly? Or which part of the sales process is not working out according to the plan? And then let's say you do manage to get sales, but then the fulfillment breaks because your clients are not retaining, right? Maybe they are just like leaving your services after a couple of weeks or months, right? Then what measurements are we taking to improve upon the same? We can further break down the fulfillment into different categories as well. For example, your onboarding experience, how's that like? Your check-in call experience, how's that like? Your ascension experience, how's that like, right? So we can look at all these different kind of factors in order to really understand what needs to be changed. And the only way that this can be improved is once we change the right kind of inputs, make sure that each variable that we are feeding into the machine is working according to the plan so that it can give us the outputs that we desire, and we have the right kind of environment supporting the same. Now, let's say, for example, I'm trying to run this business and I'm surrounding myself with a bunch of 9-to-5 employees who keep telling me, don't do a business, go for security. And then, demotivating me all the time. Do you really think I'll make progress? No, I need to change my environment. I need to leave those people and tell them like, go mind your own business in order to really scale. So this is why understanding inputs and outputs is really, really awesome. And once you do this, I think like your life will be awesome. So far that what we have realized is that number one, understand that you need to, of course, evolve in life if you want to grow and you want to feel happy. Otherwise, you'll be depressed as hell and you won't know what to do. And if you want to evolve, rather than just focusing on monetary goals, also focus on or start looking at other areas of progress within your life. And don't be demotivated if you don't see instant gratification. Over time, you should start looking at other variables and other progress that you're making. For example, for me, I also used to look at my client results before I started making millions myself. Okay, and that eventually led to me making money. The second thing that you must understand is if you want to make millions is what inputs are you putting into your business, to your life, to your body, to your health, to your relationships. Do you have a machine in place in order to produce the outputs that you desire? And if you're not getting the outputs that you desire, then we must look at the machine, break it down into different components of what needs to be changed, adjusted in order to achieve the outputs. And then we also need to look at the environment in order to understand that do we have the environment supporting the machine to produce the outputs that we desire? And if you do not, then you need to either change your environment or you need to change the inputs that you're feeding into the machine so that you can, get the right kind of outputs. If you yourself know that you're sleeping barely 4 hours a day or night, right? And you yourself know that you're not eating the right kind of food, do not expect the outcome that you will suddenly lose weight. No law of attraction will help you do that. Okay? Understand the game and, have expectations accordingly, right? The next thing that you must understand if you want to like really, really scale is you must understand that good things take time, right? So for instance, now I have this machine that I have built which can, let's say, help me lose weight, right? Or help me make millions, right? Now, the thing is, a lot of people, they would try to do this stuff and like within like a week, they would give up, okay? Because of two things. The first thing is, of course, people are addicted to instant gratification. Now, there was an experiment done not too long ago, which is called as a marshmallow experiment, right? If you want, you could like probably read about that. Now, according to the marshmallow experiment, basically there were two groups of kids that were given marshmallows, and one group of kids was just told that if you do not eat this marshmallow right now, actually both groups were said the same thing. Do not eat the marshmallow, you'll get 2 marshmallows tomorrow. But if you eat right now, you won't get more marshmallows. And there were two groups of people or students. One group ate the marshmallow instantly, and then the other group decided to delay gratification and wait for a day. And the scientists observed these two groups over a very, very long period of time, and they learned that people who are able to delay gratification are the ones who really succeed well in their life. Okay. The second reason why a lot of people are not patient enough is because they just cannot really envision the version of themselves. Because what happens is when they start seeing these changes, right, when they start losing weight, when they start becoming successful, suddenly their old identity kicks in and that tries to pull them back, like, hey, go back. You are not meant for this success. You're not meant to lose weight. Come on, eat that ice cream. You deserve it. You are meant to live a life of fun and comfort. What happens? Why money? Why success? Your mind will start playing all these games with you. Why work so hard? Let's go get some food this weekend. Hang out with friends. Why should we stay up that extra hour? And you know what? Good things take time. Good things take a lot of time, right? Like, I can't even tell you, when I first started out my business, Uability, like, I was literally on Google Hangouts, coaching clients left, right, and center all day, all night, and trying my level best. I was literally guiding clients who were on the phone, going to close deals, and I was telling them, okay, do this, talk to the guard like this, do that, do not do that, etc. And there are videos on my YouTube channel. You can go click on oldest and you can see. It's only when you do one thing for a long period of time is when the world starts noticing, and then they think that you're an overnight success. But the fact is that you've been working on it for a very, very long time, right? So success, right, if I was to make this into a graph, right, usually, success is pretty slow, like when you get started, right? Like probably at the start, you'll see this momentum. And then, eventually you will see that, okay, things are going to slow down. You start facing a lot of challenges, but then you keep doing, you keep doing, you keep doing, you keep doing. Like when I started my career, a lot of people were like, what are you doing with this high ticket in India? Like nobody cares about high ticket. Stop doing this. I was like, dude, I'm creating a market. Let me create it. I kept creating it. Nobody was paying attention. Nobody was paying attention. Nobody was paying attention until people were like, shit, my ad costs are going up. Whatever Rohan is saying is actually right. I should go buy his services. Boom. All coaches, all entrepreneurs, all agencies, they were like, you are ready, you are ready, you are ready. We just want that, right? So during this time, a lot of people give up, right? This is the tough time, right? This is where, you're putting inputs to your machine, but you're not able to see that outcome, right? Because compounding takes time. You're putting in the work, you're putting in the inputs every single day. Same thing again and again, same message, same marketing, same niche. I'm not changing it, right? Just consistency. Every day you wake up, get to this room, record the video, do the same stuff, right? And when you have done enough of it, the world starts noticing this breaking point. Most people are not even, they don't stick around to actually witness this, right? And when this happens, then everybody would start noticing you, and then people would start copying you. People would start, doing what you used to say in 4 years ago. They would now start saying it, and they'd be like, oh, I made this. The point is, time is super important, and compounding is literally the eighth wonder of earth. Even if you go to the gym right now, you put in the reps, won't see any progress. But then, you keep benching. 3 years later, 4 years later, people will start noticing. People will see, like, damn, this person was right. He said, like, this high ticket thing will work, and this industry will head in this direction only. Nobody listened. And you said to people that, hey, I will get that massive chest if I keep putting in the reps. Nobody listened to you, but now look at them. Now look at yourself, right? So it's very important that you understand this concept, okay? If you cannot be patient to understand evolution, keep putting in the right inputs so that you can achieve the right outputs, and give it enough time. Give it enough compounding power to make sure that the inputs you are feeding to the machine can have the necessary cushion to grow, right? Because trust me, as I've already said, it's not like Tinder. You just swipe and boom, you have a date. It's not like, a food delivery app. You just pick the food item and boom, it's at your house. No, good things take time. Be patient and you will get there. Then the next thing is, you must understand, is focus, right? Now, when you are trying to put the right kind of inputs to the machine and you are giving it time, what will start happening is, during this period, right, you will start to notice that there are a lot of distractions. This is another thing that will kill a lot of entrepreneurs or anybody trying to succeed in general, right? So what happens is, now over here, when I was trying to grow my business, right, I understood that, okay, I have one source of traffic that's giving me consistent leads. I have one way of actually turning those leads into sales. And I know if I just do more of this, I can scale. But during this time, you start to hear whispers, whispers from these Twitter birds all around. A lot of people will try to tell you to change your approach because this period becomes super boring and you start thinking that, okay, I'm not seeing any kind of gratification, so I might as well change my pathway and try to listen to all these other gurus out there claiming some different kind of approach that will magically solve my problem. Now, this happens when you are trying to, let's say, do dieting as well. For instance, if you're trying to do dieting, somebody might tell you that, hey, the diet that you're following is actually wrong. You should try paleo. or you should try out keto diet, or you should try out intermittent fasting, or you should try out carb cycling or low carb diet or something like that. And that might distract you from the main pathway that you are set on. And these things are basically called as shiny objects, right? Or people who suffer from the problem of distraction, and people who are not able to actually focus, right? During the time when it's super important, right? Before you see this growth curve, right? A lot of people just lose out, right? It's kind of like that meme that you've seen on the internet where this person is trying to like mine for gold, and gold is literally right there, but that person decides to give up and go a different pathway. Okay, so this is kind of like how it looks like, right? So imagine this like pizza, right? You only have one thing in common with me, and we all have this one thing in common with Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and all the richest of the richest people on earth, which is that we all have 24 hours, right? So we are given these 24 hours equally thanks to mankind, or the universe or whatever, right? Now, what you decide to do with these 24 hours will determine what your future will be, right? Now, during this pathway, when, let's say, I was getting started, right, and I start seeing like, okay, I'm focusing on results, but I'm not seeing that exponential growth, a lot of people start telling me that, Rohan, you know what, you should slice this time of yours, right, which is like a pizza, and slice it into multiple buckets. So, for example, some people used to tell me, Rohan, you should do podcasts. Some people would tell me that, Rohan, you should speak on stage. Some people would tell me do email marketing. Some people would tell me that, do blogging. Some people will tell me start a SaaS company, right? Some people will tell me that, Rohan, you should do a DFI company, right? Some people might tell me that you should get into affiliate marketing, right? And some people might tell me that, Rohan, you know what, you should like probably launch another product or something like that. And as a result of this, think about this, right? If I was to divide my time into so many buckets, let's say what will happen? My 24 hours, let's say I'm putting 10% into speaking on stage, 10% I'm putting into, the product, or sorry, not the product, but like the podcast. And then 10% I'm putting into email marketing. And then 10% I'm putting into, let's say, blogging, 10% into my SaaS company, 10% into my DFI company, and then 10% into my affiliate program. And then let's say I launch another level 2 or 3 or whatever, I'm putting 10% time over here. And as a result of this, all my attention is now completely divided. And what will happen now is I won't be able to make substantial progress, and I won't be able to experience this wonder of compounding, which I talked about earlier on, because I decided to change my pathway, right? It's kind of like, you're putting money every month on mutual funds or whatever, and then or putting money into like the SIP index, and then suddenly it's going well, but before you see the compounding effect really take place, you decide to withdraw your money and stop doing it, right? So this is what a lot of people do. And as opposed to what I did is I took my time, right? And I decided to just like completely focus, right? 100% in just one direction, which was for me, one traffic source, right? I'll just call this as TS, which for me was like ads, right? At that point of time, I decided to like put all my energy into just making sure that I can create the best goddamn ads on earth for my industry, and just get a lot of leads through that. And then I decided to just put in my focus on my conversion mechanism, which was basically sales, right? So I decided to master one-on-one sales. And then, customer success. This is another area where I decided to put my focus in, right? And rather than doing so many different kind of things, just by focusing on a few important things that move the needle the furthest, right? What happened is, people were looking at me over here and were just like not even talking about me. And then suddenly, I think in 2022, when, some of the biggest names started joining us, people started wondering, how exactly did that happen, Rohan? What happened? It's because of the boring stuff that I did over here. And it's because of me saying no, right? This is the key word, right? That I want you to remember over here. Saying no to all these distractions, right? That allowed me to focus my time and energy into this. And honestly, this even included saying no to, sometimes going out. I remember 3 New Years back to back, I was sitting at home and fighting some war within my business that was happening. Sometimes our tech system would crash, something or the other would happen. Um, and I would do that. And there have been times when I had to say no to all the fun things out there so that I could dedicate a lot of my focus and energy so that I can experience this exponential growth, right? So the key lesson that I want you to derive out of this is the first thing that you must understand is that you must focus on evolution and to, you know, if you want to grow in life, that's what's going to lead to complete happiness, and it's going to make sure that you're not depressed, right? So aim for some sort of progress in life, right? It may or may not be you becoming a millionaire, but point is that you must see some level of progress in your life. And again, don't just focus on monetary terms, but look at it overall. If you're growing or complete overall individual, I think that's a much better progress to judge rather than the bank balance alone. Okay, especially when you're starting out. And then once you understand evolution, you want to make progress. Just understand that what is the output that you desire and what inputs need to be fed into a machine with the right kind of environment so that you can get the outputs. Then you must understand that you must give it time, right? Let compounding happen so that the machine has sufficient amount of time in order to produce you the outputs. Or don't focus on instant gratification, and then say no to a lot of things which might lead you to deviate from your pathway. Stay focused, stay concentrate very well on whatever pathway that you are on, and do not change your pathway until and unless you have literally tried your level best in order to make it work, and you have no choice but to amend things and move in another direction. Now, this brings me to the next point that I want to talk about. Now, throughout this whole journey, right, when you'll be saying no to a lot of these things, right, you'll be saying no to various kind of distractions out there. And basically, you are consistently putting in the inputs into the machine. You're trying to get the outputs. You have the environment set up, right? And now you are stuck in this stage and you are basically waiting for that growth, right? What will happen is during this time, you will experience something called as failure, right? Things will get tough, right? Things might not work out according to the plan. Things might break, systems might break. You might expect something to go in A direction, but it might end up going in B direction. And guess what? That's completely normal. And I want to give you the permission to feel okay about it. Why? Because think about this. Talk to any successful person out there, right? It doesn't need to be in monetary terms. They could have literally achieved success in any area. You would always notice that they will tell you that, hey, I first failed so many times and then I succeeded, right? Everybody you talk to, as you hear great stories about Edison, Steve Jobs, and whatnot as well, they'll tell you the same thing, right? Now, the question to you is that if failure is the recipe to success, then why is failing not okay? Why are you so afraid of failure, right? Because think about this. If we understand that according to the time curve, if we are consistently putting in the right inputs into the machine, right, and it will take time, a long-term vision in order to achieve what we truly desire, then it's totally normal to expect failure throughout the way, right? And when this failure happens, you'll have two choices. Option number one is you could just give up and then do nothing about it. And if you do, then you'll never get to see the compounding truly come into place, right? It's kind of like you getting distracted only. The second thing is, right, you fail and then do nothing about it, right? And there's also a third thing that you can do, actually, which would be to reflect about the pain. So every time I have failed within my business or anything in life, what I've always done is I have maintained something called as a journal, right? So what I would do is I would pen down my thoughts within this journal, right? And whenever I would fail, right, I would write down my learning lessons from this particular failure. And I would try to reflect within my journal and find out, what was the failure about, what happened, how can I make sure that it doesn't happen next time, right? And my biggest lessons from it, right? And this information, when compounded over time, will be the biggest asset within your business, which will allow you to have an unfair advantage over everybody else, because this journal will contain your reflections, which are super important. I sometimes write journals about it. I sometimes use online software to write. I sometimes even make YouTube videos about my failures as well, right? And that's completely normal to do that, right? In fact, quite recently, as the company grew, we literally within 1 year went from 4 to 5 employees to like around 30 employees, right? And that growth was like too much. And things broke during that time, or we did not have the right kind of HR systems. We did not have the right kind of policies in place. We did not have the exact measurement standards in order to ensure that our culture stays strong even when we are scaling. And as a result of that, I decided to face a lot of challenges, right? So because of that, I failed in order to sustain, so many people. So as a result of that, we had to let go of a few individuals, build back our policies and then get back on track with the right kind of systems. Now, if I hadn't failed and reflected upon the same within my journal, I wouldn't have learned the lesson that, okay, this is something that I need to do in order to take things to the next level. And similarly, you must also try to do the same, right? You will pick up the phone and chances are your prospect might say no to you. You might try to do that webinar and chances are people might not show up. But my suggestion to you is stay consistent, right? Make sure that you do not give up and keep making progress and keep reflecting about the same, right? Because if you reflect and do nothing about it and you still fail at the same thing again, then you are making no progress, okay? So my suggestion to you is if you're failing, but if you're failing at the same thing again and again, you're just not doing a good enough job of reflecting upon the same. Understand it, get help around it. There are a lot of people who could help you, people who have actually walked the path that you wish to walk. Get the solution to that and make sure that you do not make the same mistake again and again, because then that is just called stupidity, in my opinion. Couple of more things that I want to talk about would be always try to look at things from a top-down approach, right? Now, what do I mean by this? Well, a lot of people are too fixated upon granular details and they do not tend to look at the overall problem as a whole, okay? Now, one example that I could give to you is, there are a lot of people out there in the industry, right, who would, let's say, run a lot of lead campaigns, right? And they would try to project an image into the marketplace by showing Ferraris or pictures of their private jets or appearing on many different podcasts. And then they would run a lot of lead ads, right? And then what they would do is they would probably send people to a webinar. And then over there, they would probably sell them level 1. And then they'll do another program where they would sell them like a level 2 course and then the level 3 course, right? And things like that. And then eventually what happens is when these people, spend so much money, they're, showing the wrong kind of idea to people, they would start noticing that their lead cost starts like skyrocketing. And I have talked to such people, that's why like I understand the same. And then they have no way to control the same because throughout this whole process, they were just focusing on trying to make themselves look rich. But they were not focusing on their clients, their experiences, and really, making sure that everybody who they work with, most of the people can be satisfied with their valuable advice and services. And as a result of that, what happened is, of course, those people will realize that they are not doing a good enough job. They would tell their friends, they would tell their families, and then other people would see their podcast and see that, they are trying to be like scammy and, try to display this picture, which is really not true. And then according to most of these people, they would use the bottom-up approach. Okay. What do I mean by this? Well, they would just look at one variable, which is, let's say, their leads, and then try to think, oh my God, the lead cost is becoming so expensive. I should try to fix this problem by launching another ad or maybe trying out another platform and whatnot. But they are just looking at it as from bottom up by just looking at one variable, right? And what they are not realizing is the whole picture by looking at it from top down. So according to the top down approach, right, they must look at their entire machine. For example, inside of a business, you have marketing, then you have sales, then you have client fulfillment, right? And then you have operations, right? And then inside of marketing, you have your branding, you have your performance marketing or direct response, right? And what they're not realizing is when they are doing marketing, they're getting sales and they are getting customers, but these customers are not getting results and they are basically dissatisfied. And then these customers are basically talking to their friends, which is word of mouth, right? Which is then impacting this, right? And then also impacting their brand, because in addition to their brand, they're showing, private jets and whatnot, which is leading to like more word of mouth that, okay, this guy looks like really scammy. And then, as a result of this, then again, compounding happens. And then this just becomes really, really bad. And as a result of this, their lead cost becomes like, super, super high. And then they are not able to really differentiate or really understand what went wrong. And then they try to keep like changing their ad angles, but they do not understand that it's their entire branding and direct response that's going down because of negative word of mouth compounding over time against them. So they must look at things from a top down approach, right, in order to understand what really is going on within a business. And again, you could apply this principle to anything in your life, rather than just looking at one variable. For example, just thinking that, you know, I'm I'm eating good food, right? I'm eating within a deficit, but I'm still not losing weight. Well, if you're just going to look at just that one variable rather than like try to understand from a whole that in order to lose weight, you just don't need like proper food. You need sleep as well. You need the proper workout as well. And then understanding that are all variables working in synergy in order to produce me the outcome that I truly want. When you understand it at that level, I think, it's just going to be a lot better for you. So that's the top down approach. And then the last thing in order to become a millionaire, like a lesson that I would like to share with you, is looking at things from a third order consequence, right? Now, what do I mean by this? Well, a lot of times you would end up making decisions which will give you the gratification in the short term, but in the long term, it's going to be sort of bad for you. Now, just to give you an example, let's say that I have, an important meeting tomorrow for which I have to wake up at 8:30 a.m. Now, I know that if I was to actually, let's say, have, some alcohol right now, I might feel good within the moment, right? Because I would get that instant gratification. But I know for a fact that as a second order consequence of this, my sleep would be disrupted. Third order consequence of this would be that I won't be able to wake up on time. Or the fourth order consequence of this could be, let's say, the team meeting or the client meeting actually doesn't go well. As a result of this, I might end up losing the client. And as a result of this, I might just, having lower revenue that particular month, right? As a result of this, I might face issues which might put me in trouble to pay salaries, which might affect the entire quarter, right? So I think that was like a very exaggerated version of it. But the point is, when you start looking at, anything that you would do, right? Any decision that you have to make, right? You have to look at it as, how would this impact me in the long term? And what will be the second, third, fourth order consequence and even fifth level order consequence of me making this particular decision right now, right? If you start thinking in those terms, like how I was explaining you the example of like some coaches and gurus would go and flex around Ferraris around, right? In the short term, it might lure people to go and buy your programs or products because it looks fancy, right? However, in the long term, would you really end up attracting the right kind of customers, right? Because everybody knows, like, just by watching like just some videos or attending a webinar, nobody's going to get a Ferrari, right? However, if you're going to put that image in somebody's mind and then they do not achieve the same after that webinar video, it's going to like decrease your branding, and then because they're going to blame you because you did not help them achieve the Ferrari that you promised them, or kind of like made it look as if like they're going to get it. And then as a result of this will increase your lead costs, and as a result of this, your conversions will decrease. As a result of this, you might have to shut down the business, right? And this has happened several times to a lot of coaches internationally, at least what I've seen. Anything is possible within this business, of course. However, my suggestion to you is to always look at whatever actions that you're going to take and how exactly is this going to affect me in the long term, right? So those are some examples of like third order consequence, right? That you must take into consideration whenever you're trying to throughout your journey of like becoming a millionaire. And honestly, if you can like master these things, nobody can stop you. Like, of course, I cannot guarantee nothing, just by you watching this video. I don't know who you are or what you do, but at least you'll be in a very good position to have the right context behind making a lot of money and being in the right direction, right? So just to summarize, have the right purpose, have the right understanding, understand that you have to make progress to be busy in life. That idea of just like sitting by the beach, you're eventually going to get bored with it, right? So focus on evolution. And if you do focus on evolution, just don't focus on monetary figures. Also try to focus on overall growth, right? And see progress in all areas. Try to put the right inputs into the right machine to get the outputs that you want, and make sure that the machine has the right kind of environment, and try to automate that machine as much as possible. Give that machine some time, right? You need to give anything like 3 to 5 years before you start seeing any kind of returns. I'm being quite honest with you. Do not expect instant gains, right? And see if you can challenge yourself to stick to that thing while saying no to a lot of distractions that will come along your way. That's why it's very important to be focused, right? And when you are trying to be focused, when you're trying to actually put in the right inputs, when you're trying to give it time, you will eventually fail, right? Which is part of the game. When you do fail, rather than, giving up, try to reflect upon it and see if you can learn lessons from it, right? When you do find lessons from it, try to solve the problem from a top-down approach, right? Rather than just looking at one variable of it, right? Because if you just look at one variable, let's say the lead cost, you might not truly understand what went wrong. Try to put it in different buckets or as a whole, and see from a 10,000-foot overview what needs to change in order to get you the long-term outputs that you truly desire. And then make sure that whatever actions that you set for yourself, after taking the reflection, after looking at it from a top-down approach, to go back and start putting in the right inputs, I would highly recommend that whatever action steps you write, observe them from a third-order consequence, fourth-order consequence, and see that if I take this particular action right now, how will this affect me from a second-order consequence, from a third-order consequence? And if this is something that I should do for myself, something that would be good for me in the long term, yes or no, right? And then go back to, this part, remind yourself of the progress, put the right inputs, get the right outputs, give it time, and keep repeating this process again and again to unlock a lot of success. Rohan Dhawan here, and I hope you like videos with this video, right? And if you did, make sure to give this video a like button below. It's going to support the algorithm. Hopefully more and more people can find it out, and share it with your friends who are trying to become an entrepreneur, trying to become successful, or trying to just, do well in life, or maybe they are already business owners and they're trying to succeed, right? And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.